First off, Francis, I want to say thank you for always giving honest opinions about Colin. It means a lot to me because obviously that is my family. And it's rare right now that people who are political correspondents and they get good stats, good facts, and then they give an accurate opinion. So thank you for always doing that.
I mean, it's not hard to take a situation and you can try to spin it whatever way you want, but when you see something and you understand that it's a problem, the way someone's being treated, it should be everyone's journalistic integrity. If you're a journalist, or if you're I wouldn't say I'm a journalist either, or a news anchor, we talked about that. I'm an opinions-based correspondent, and I see something I think's wrong, and I think my voice can help enlighten more people. So as much as I like Colin Kaepernick, I liked him before he took his stance, but I've seen how he's been scrutinized, and I just couldn't sit back and not say something time and time again. I think I've covered them more so on my platform than I've covered any other topic, because I think it's so representative of problems in the US, the way he's treated.
Yes. And that's not just the only reason why you're here, because that's just, that's a cherry on top that you actually stand up for the right thing. But it's everything that you do for the Young Turks network. And I think it's so awesome. I was looking at the stats, and I really want everyone to pay attention to this. So you guys right now are #1 in the US news and politics leaderboard, tripling CNN on YouTube, the biggest news who's on the internet. That's crazy to me.
It's even when people still hit us with the numbers, I still don't. Like, it's still hard to fathom that those are people. You know, it's like billions of views, and you just when you look at the numbers, you're like, it's people watching, but you don't realize those are actual people. And when I came out to New York, you guys are so woke out here. So these are all there's so many people out here that are TYT fans. Like, you don't get that as much in Los Angeles. There is a huge amount of fans there as well. But when even just walking down the street, they're like,
they know you.
You're like, that's that English guy, and I'm like, close, Scottish, but I'll give you it. You're in the right ballpark, at least. Yeah. So it's fun to see that people out here are resonating with it, and it's more often than not, it's young people. It's people between the age of 18 and 24 is our average demographic, and I think that's so crucial, because we are that generation, the millennial generation, even before that, we're the ones that are so angry about what's going on at the moment, but not just angry, but wanting to help and wanting to be active and know what the right thing to do is. And sometimes it's just following what you think is right and what the truth is. You
just put out a video about that, about millennials. And how everybody blames millennials for everything wrong in this world, when it's like, actually,
well, if you didn't eat avocado toast every day, maybe you'd be able to buy a house.
Really? That's all it took?
That's all it took.
All right.
And I was like, and the first thing I said towards the end of that video was, my faith in that avocado being delicious is a lot stronger than my faith in the housing market or the stock market or all those things that you're telling me to invest in. And it's every cause has an effect. And the cause of the financial catastrophe back in 2008 meant that the people like me growing up in that environment, we witnessed like how horrible it can be when people above you take advantage of good, hard-working people. So we are a little wary. We're wary because we don't want to invest in the housing market straight away, and we graduate college with $30,000+ in debt. So we don't like. There was a stat that I threw out. Most millennials, there's like 3% of millennials that graduate debt free, which is insane. Everyone else is graduating with debt, right?
So
and then
nuts.
More people have, I think, zero in their bank account than those that have money in their bank account, specifically graduating college. So how can you expect us to go into this housing market that's extortionate?
Yes.
And then you complain that we want avocado toast.
Yeah.
It's like our only refuge in the weekend is to eat that avocado toast.
Why do you think, though, people, I guess older people always blame millennials for everything?
I think there's two sides of it. I generally think that it's a generational thing to blame the previous generation. I think that the baby boomers were probably blamed when they came around, and I think that I do think the millennials are scrutinized more than anyone else, and I do think there's certain things that we do, like you see anyone with a fidget spinner and you're like, I don't really dig that much. Like, it's just like I get that we're very socially active when it comes to social media and technology, and I think that people just, rather than catch up, they want to blame. So rather than trying to catch up with what's going on, and everyone loves to play the blame game, man. Everyone loves to place their problems on previous generations or immigrants, or like the list can go on. When people don't want to deal with their own hardships, they look to blame other people. And I do think it's not surprising that more people above in the baby boomer generation, like they would rather blame millennials coming up with their own views, and millennials are entitled in a way, but that's because we pay so much for what we want to get out of college that we want that job that we're paying into. We want to go into a job that we've just put hours upon hours and money into. And I don't think that's a bad thing. We know what we want, and we want to try and get there to do it. Do we think everyone could work a little harder? Sure.
Right.
But it's not like we're just sitting on our ass expecting things to be given out to us. That's another stereotype that's just, it plays into this kind of false narrative that I think is very easy to play into, rather than being like, wait, what did I do to cause this? Like, what was my generation's problem? Was it like when you look at someone like John, like Stumpf, who's the Wells Fargo CEO, who is part of the baby boomer generation, who just waltzes into his big payoff after he plunged everyone into financial crisis?
Yep.
No, only like the Elizabeth Warrens of the world will blame him. But it's so much easier to blame people like me or you who just want to voice our opinion on this. So yeah, it's a blame game.
If there was one thing that you would like to see millennials do more, what would it be?
I think that I would like to see us be a little bit more present. I think it's harder to say. It's easier said than done. Sorry, because everyone wants to be Instagramming and Facebooking and everything else. But I think that I found that I'm learning so much more from just reading. Like I've been reading James Baldwin for the past 4 months. And the amount of information that I'm gathering from that, and it plays into those videos. Like I can, now than going and doing more research, I do research obviously to back up my point, but I read something, I'm like, okay, that's what James Baldwin talked about. I know exactly that conversation and what I want to understand. And I think that we'd be more culturally understanding if we were to pick up some more books and read. And you can do that online. You can use your iPad or whatever. But I just think it seems very cliche. People are like, oh, this guy thinks that everyone's going to read and the world's going to fix itself. No, but I think that there's certain things that you can't get on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat. And I think that you get that from good old-fashioned learning and trying to understand. Like, your learning doesn't finish at college. I think that you just keep trying to understand that. And it's allowed me so much more so to understand. I can never understand the hardships that Black Americans face and the heartbreak that they feel when they're seeing another police shooting or anything else. But when I read people like James Baldwin and I read previous teachings, it allows me to try to understand, try to empathize, and listen easier, because I'm not judging based on what I've seen. I'm trying to understand that someone else is going to see that situation completely different because they're programmed in a different way. But in order to get to a stage where you start to understand each other, it's all about learning, and it's all about listening to that other person and trying to gauge what their thought process is on that. And I think that's a big problem today in the US. People just snap judgments, instinctive.
Why do you think that is? The fact that you're even acknowledging, like, hey, I will never understand what it feels like to be a Black man in America who's constantly feeling terrorized by the police. Yeah. When that's said here, it's like, oh my God, you're unpatriotic. Look at you. And it's like, no, have you seen what's happening out here?
Yeah.
Why do you think it gets people worked up here so much?
America is rooted with this sense of patriotism that you love the country, and criticizing it means you're not patriotic. And this will bring us right back to Kaepernick. Yeah. If you protest something, if you love something, you have every right to protest it. James Baldwin said those words, I love America more than any other country in the world. And that's why I feel that I have every right to consistently criticize her when she's not standing for every citizen in that country. So, but when Colin Kaepernick kneeled, people thought that was a direct insult to patriots and to veterans. When a lot of veterans came out and were like, hey, no, this is what we fight for, so that people in our country know what it takes to basically stand for what's right, not just for what people assume to be right, and never questioning and never criticizing. If America was a country that you never criticized, I don't even know if it would be a livable situation, because people, more often than not, conservatives, it's funny because they criticize parts of it that they don't feel questions of patriotism of it, right? When people, when like us snowflakes get upset about things, they take that as us being unpatriotic, when it's completely the opposite. We want to criticize because we want to make this place better. Exactly. So the Kaepernick situation, people will find it a lot easier to blame him for being less patriotic than it is to look at themselves and find out why does it trigger me? Why am I so upset that this guy is kneeling? Why am I so upset that bothers me? Is it? And then those same people, my first video on Kaepernick was, if you dare criticize that man for kneeling, then you bet your ass you better speak up when Terence Crutcher gets shot.
Yep.
You better speak up
And they're
when
always
Philando
quiet.
Castile, but they're always quiet. So if you're more
Always.
outraged at the protest itself,
Yeah.
other than the reason as to why, then you're part of the problem.
Exactly.
And that is, it still falls on deaf ears when I try to say that. It still falls on deaf ears, and that's why I consistently think it's my objective of doing the platform that I have and the opportunities I've been given is not even an American citizen. I'm working my way to become an American citizen because I love the country.
And
I love,
we need you.
I love the opportunities that it's been given. But it's just like, you need to really understand why the man did what he did. And you don't need to agree with the method that he did it or whatever else. But if you don't agree with it, then again, you better speak up when the problem...
And better do something.
Yeah, exactly. And don't just sit on the sidelines and think that by criticizing him that suddenly you're a patriot.
Because you're
that's
not.
not the way it works. I'm afraid.
It's so mind-boggling to me how it's 2017 and that really is an issue. That, oh my gosh, someone wants equality for everybody. Oh my God, this is so crazy. It's so absurd to me that people are worked up about it, especially in America, because
Yes.
that's the foundation of why all of us came here, is because we don't want to be criticized for what we believe in.
Yeah, and it's the goings on at the moment is so symbolic,
Right.
as to what is going on in America outside of the National Football League, right?
Yeah.
So what Colin Kaepernick did, in my opinion, is the worst crime imaginable to the NFL, right? You can go and you can list off all the crimes, right? Drug offenses, domestic abuse, sexual abuse, dog fighting,
Yes.
like Michael Vick, and all of those are deemed redeemable by NFL owners. They can re-sign, they can come back in. But when you question the unjust killing of a black man and you push against a white narrative, that's the unforgivable sin in the NFL. And that's why I think it's so sad to say, but his career may be over because they will not give in to that. They make up all these excuses. He's vegan. Tom Brady's got a vegan
Yes.
diet almost, right? He's the best quarterback that's ever lived. And I've only really watched the NFL for the last 7 years, but I know there's players out there. Geno Smith, are you kidding me? Throws more interceptions in 4 games than Kaepernick in a year. Regardless of that, it's just so apparent. But again, it's symbolic of what we see outside of football. So you're very familiar with the Minnesota shooting that just happened,
Yep.
correct? A tragic instance.
Yeah.
And I'm so sorry for the Australian woman's family that was shot and killed. But there's another group that have went silent after that shooting. Mm-hmm. And that's Blue Lives Matter. And I just did another video that's circulating at the moment, whereas after every police shooting, even if there's blatant footage, those that back the blue, regardless, will come up with reasons to question the victim.
Always.
Why?
Well, what did they do?
What did he do? Was he taking drugs?
Yeah.
What did he do when he was 12 years old? Did he shoplift? Right? And it's laughable, but those are actual
Yes.
reasons. And what has happened in this instance, because the victim was a beautiful blonde white woman,
Right.
that's all the characteristics they need to assume that the officer was in the wrong.
Yeah.
And I don't want the officer defended. This is what I have to clarify. I don't want any officer defended and
Right.
given this benefit of the doubt. We know that it's almost a police state at the moment where officers shoot first
Yes.
and think later. So I want them scrutinized. I want every example to be what we just seen, but that's not going to be the case.
Yeah.
Because when the victim is black, what happens in America is they just instinctively assume that something's wrong.
Yes.
That they were reaching for their ID when they were not asked. And it breaks my heart. It brings tears to my eyes when I watch that video of Philando Castile time
Oh
and time
my
again.
God.
And I think to myself, I need to do another video on this because I maybe I'm just a fool and I think people will finally get it. And
No,
that's
you're a
why
good
this
person, man.
But I just hope that my one video will change maybe one person's mind
Yeah.
or 2 people's mind to try and understand that if you're going to sit there and give this woman who tragically was killed every assumption that she was so innocent in that situation, walking towards a police car in the middle of the night, that woman, if she was black, as
my
much as it's
God.
awful, she would have already been stripped limb from limb
Yes.
on all the things she did wrong
Yep.
in that situation. And I think that's so wrong. Like, I feel bad even talking about it now to think that it's not like I want people to go and question that woman's characteristics. Her family is going through so much at the moment.
Absolutely.
But just think about all those black families.
Yes.
That they're trying to get justice for their son or their daughter, and that son or daughter's been torn apart by the media thinking, oh, well, what did they do when they were 12 or 13 or 14? Or why was he holding a toy gun?
Yeah.
You know? Then it's just sad.
Now, I'm sure you get the trolls.
Yeah.
What do they say? I'm just curious.
A lot of people try to say that I'm just like, I want to be black, right? So therefore I want to try and put myself into that situation. And I'm like, that's couldn't be further from the truth. I think that it's so crucial in America that white people more than anything understand about what's going on, because black people have been protesting their treatment for years.
Yes.
And unfortunately, it's not changed anything. So it's on everyone to take take these shootings as, and imagine that that's your family member, not just when someone looks like you, but just imagine it as another citizen being killed. So yeah, the insults go on. Like, they know that it might get under my skin if they call me English, because that's like the rivalry. So they'll definitely call, but I've been called everything under the sun, and it doesn't bother me, because for every 4 or 5 insults that I get, there'll be 15, 16 comments
of love,
of people just saying, thank you for speaking out for what I think is right and what people need to really, and you vocalize what I've been saying all along in a different way. And I said, well, it's easier when you have time to put together a video, but there's so many people that have these opinions and they don't have a platform to say it, and they're drowned out by extremists who just yell, "Oh, you're race baiting," or "This is not a race issue. This is not. This is they were causing this," and that's what's more baffling than anything else.
Being Scottish, do you feel disappointed in America? Like when you see this happening, are you just like, gosh, you guys could do better? What is going on?
I mean, so before I go into the criticisms of America, like, it's granted me so many opportunities. I was like from such a small town in Glasgow, Scotland, where I never imagined that I'd be sitting on a radio station that every time I came to New York I listened to. So it's granted me so many opportunities to do it. But at the same time, that those opportunities that were given to me might not be given to another person, or might not be offered to everyone. So I feel that just because I was lucky, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to use my platform to try and spread some sort of truth that I think, or have open discourse, or try to enlighten some people. So yeah, I'm disappointed in what has happened in the last 7 or 8 months. But I also have my criticisms from those that are on the left, the Democrats as well.
God, of course. All of them.
I was very vocal in my criticisms towards Hillary Clinton.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not like I was just, I was so left that I just was, regardless of whatever happened, I was going to back Democrats, I was going to back this or that. I was a Bernie Sanders supporter, and I did not like the way that the DNC treated Bernie Sanders, and how Hillary Clinton colluded with that. So no one's really free from my, I wouldn't say my attacks or my or what I want to put together, but if you're not using your platform to push forward the message that I think most people should receive and help them understand what's going on in this country, then I will vocalize your fallacies, and I will try to bring light to it.
And I think that's so important that people understand. Every time we get comments, it's always like, you are this because you're liberal. It's like, look, don't box me in anything. I'm just for the truth. Malcolm said it best. It doesn't matter who's saying it. I'm for the truth. I don't give me a title. None of that matters to me. At the end of the day, I'm for humanity, and I'm for what's right. And I think people can't understand that. They automatically have to, well, that means you're that. No. Yeah,
and that's a great point and it also represents another problem in America. Like, identity politics has taken over. It's like if you say something, and it happens on both sides, right? So I saw Donald Trump's election coming a little bit, because I saw how anyone who maybe vocalized some opinions that resonated more with him than anyone else, then they were called a racist or a xenophobe, and they were categorized by everything that represented the worst of his narrative. And I didn't think that would help, because if someone's on the cusp, you're going to try to convince them that Donald Trump's not the right choice. But by labeling them, it just pushes them further towards that, pushing them. And I think Hillary ran her campaign. Her slogan would have been, in my opinion, "I'm better than this guy." Because that's kind of the way it was run. Whereas it should have been, "I'm best for you, for an American citizen, for this." And I think that that's where a problem comes into, that more often than not, it becomes a screaming match rather than trying to understand other people's opinions and what you can relate to and what your disagreements are. But again, it's hard to do that if someone becomes so extreme on either side and just starts labeling this person racist, or this person's a leftist, SJW, blah, blah, blah. And that's where that becomes more common now than actually having open discourse and conversation.
So sad.
Yeah.
It really is.
It is unfortunate. But hopefully, I don't know, the more that we have more open conversations about real problems that are going on in America, then I'm hoping that more people start to really understand it. Because with every Russian story that comes around, there's more decisions that are being made under the radar, right? So I don't know if you probably would have known this, as you pay attention to a lot of issues that are going on, but during the latest, Jared Kushner, blah, 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 Donald Trump Jr., blah, 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 Donald Trump cut $213 million from teen pregnancy programs.
So
right
devastating.
under your nose, and no one would understand that because they're too busy going, "Oh, Russia, oh, that
Right,
happened."
right.
And I get you need to investigate that goings on. It definitely smells fishy.
For
There's no
sure.
doubt, but that doesn't mean that you focus all your attention
Yes.
and ignore everything else that's going on. So. Yeah, you need to be, as much as the saying's overused, stay woke to everything that's going on.
Everything.
Don't just focus all your attention on Russia or Donald Trump's tweets, but try to understand that he's doing things for a reason, man. He's
Yes.
doing it so that right under your nose, they can be cutting funding. Like, right, the same week that everyone was talking about Jared Kushner, Jeff Sessions was enforcing further police sanctions that allow them to seize your goods without even charging you. So you think police have more control, so much control at the moment? We'll just wait, and if that gets put into place, that not only was Jeff Sessions trying to roll back reform that Barack Obama put in place,
Right.
where in places that had racial scrutiny proven,
Right.
that now they're actually trying to give you the police officers opportunity to take your goods more so than anything else.
Oh, yeah. And it's legal.
Yeah, that's exactly why, and it's really unfortunate.
So when someone hears this from you now and they're like, okay, I want to become proactive.
Yeah,
Because, like, what's the follow-up?
I feel like there is so many different stages you can be active. There's almost the ground level stage where you can just start to have more conversations with people.
Right.
Like that, it sounds like that's not going to help, but trust me, it does.
Right.
If you start to try and maybe listen to someone whose opinion is a little different from yours and try to persuade them of your opinion, I think that goes a long way. That doesn't mean you go out and you humor racist trolls.
Right.
They can be racist trolls all they want. There's no convincing them.
Right.
But start to try to understand someone who may have a difference of opinion or show some sort of curiosity in a different field that you maybe feel like you're so sure upon, then have a conversation. Try to get them to see your side. And then you take that to the next level and you start to maybe become more active in your community. I'm not trying to bring this back to Kaepernick every time, but that's why I respect him so much. Know Your Rights camp is so phenomenal. Ground roots level, trying to educate black youths on their constitutional rights and what goes on in America and what they can and cannot do in regards to interactions with police and everything else. And then he's working in communities such as Chance the Rapper's trying to do. We're helping local schools. Like, education is the foundation of changing things in the future. So be more active that way. And then our level at the Young Turks, Cenk, our main host, founded this new political party called Occupy Democrats. Another Democratic Party. Occupy Democrats is a great website you should check out. But basically founded his own political affiliation so that people who maybe don't feel like they're getting what they want out of the DNC and the establishment Democrats, they can go and start maybe contributing and being more vocal and working in their communities for local political parties.
Where is this?
So if you go into tytnetwork.com, you'll find all the details. Like, Cenk has been basically, it's Justice Democrats it's called, and it's another political affiliation that feels like they can make real change. I mean, our company, as much as we all have disagreements, we're not all under the same umbrella. Me and my main host, Cenk, we will disagree on a lot of things, but we're all in there for the same goal, which I think is to try and figure out what our role is, taking the truth and trying to help inspire people. And one of the biggest things that TYT's tried to do from the get-go is get money out of politics. Because when money's in politics, there's not much else that you can do. You're fighting against big dollar bills. Yeah. You're going to lose. So get rid of lobbying, get rid of all the stuff that Donald Trump said he was going to do. Mm-hmm. That really needs to happen. You need to get rid of that. But aside from that, like, take those 3 stages and you start to learn that you will make an impact and you will down the line, whether you're influencing one person or a group of 100 people, you're changing someone's mind and you're enlightening them to further things that can really help America, I think.
And I think it's so important that you say that, because a lot of times we feel so beat down because, oh my gosh, it's nonstop. Mm-hmm. But that's what they want you to feel. They want you to feel exhausted. They want you to tap out. They want you to be like, well, I just don't care anymore, because then they could further their agenda and not even have to worry about any resistance. Yeah. And I know, and it sucks. It's not like we wake up in the morning and enjoy seeing this, right? Like every day I'm just like, damn, I got to talk about it. And it's like, man, I just want to listen to music and just vibe out. But it's like, no, I have to use my platform for everything that I have in me to share the truth or what I know and try to make this world a better place. And it's exhausting, man.
Yeah. And how many people do you think listen to you talking about that and feel a little bit better about that situation, that they wake up and think that's all you can hope for? So I'm thinking, like, to go back to what you mentioned about the messages that I get, and a lot of people, specifically from the black community in America, will vocalize that they love that they've seen me speak out on this, and that's enough for me to keep continuing to wanting to do it and continuing to put these videos out. So, like, you might think that if you want to vocalize your opinion, or maybe even you go on Facebook and you post something that you think can change someone's mind, someone out there might see that and think to themselves, okay, I'm not alone. I'm not alone when I think this, because half of my inbox is full of people who say that they were almost giving up and they feel like police injustice is just going to continue and that nothing's really going to change. But unfortunately, that attitude, as much as it is merited, because like, you see clear footage of Philando Castillo being shot 7 times and the officer still walks away and walks free into this country, that is going to take its toll on you. You're going to think to yourself, okay, what else can happen? Like, there's no hope. But I just feel like, as much as it's hard, you got to find different ways to try and influence other people and try to really make people feel like their voice can be heard and that their opinions aren't alone, and that together we can start to make more of an impact and start to make more of a change.
Do you feel that's a big reason why so many people love and appreciate what you guys do?
Absolutely. The passion is apparent on all of our hosts. That even some of them that have opinions that I don't agree with, the passion's there. They stick to what they believe, and that's why we have disagreements. You'll rarely find CNN main hosts like Anderson Cooper disagreeing with a Jake Tapper.
Right.
Like, because they're there for an objective. And I'm not saying, like, I think after Trump, they've done some good work, but they've also really played into a lot of things that have given us Trump in the first place.
Right.
Really been openly being distracted by a lot of things that he's just setting out there as bait, and they're like, oh, I'll take it. Right. No, more ratings, more Trump ratings, because that's what they get out of it. So I feel like although we do cover a lot of Donald Trump as well, we try our best to be a little broader. We could do a better job. Like, I am from the UK. I should be spending a little bit more time talking about UK politics. There's a lot going on there as well, but I have found a clear issue that I think is so problematic in police brutality in this country, and I feel like I designate a lot of my time trying to bring that to light. And I think that there's not enough people doing it. Maybe, I don't know, I'll be able to do more videos on it in the future, like, and consistently try to bring it to light. So yeah, I feel like that's evident. Like, when you're watching these hosts on MSNBC, I feel like it's obvious that they are almost falsifying their outrage at times, because in this swift change of things, they might switch to something else that is being told by them to go and cover. Because we have the privilege of being able to do what we really want to talk about. I can go into my producer and say, you know what, I really want to talk about why Blue Lives Matter have went silent over this. And unfortunately, in bigger networks, someone might just come back and say, no.
This is what's going to happen.
This is what you're going to talk about today. This is your rundown. So we have a very unique outlook on news. And again, we're not news. We're not a news network. We're opinions based that takes a lot of news and tries to spread it in a different way that it has our opinions based in it, but gives you the opportunity to really think. So I think that's where it really shines through, that we're an outlet that wants to share our opinion and wants people to come back and give out their opinion also. And really, they can, through like YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and everything else, we do take a lot what people say. Right. We do take opinion. I look through my Twitter nonstop after I put up a Facebook video and try to really gauge what people think about it. And it's amazing, the response. Like, I've had plenty of good conversations on Twitter with people that don't necessarily agree with what I said, but they share different opinions that I think might help me in the future. I think as much as, yes, there are a lot of opinions, but what I love about your videos is that your opinions, you'll always back it up with facts that are really stat-based. It's like, well, you could say whatever you want to say, but XYZ. Yeah. So because of XYZ, this is why I say this. Yeah. So, it's versus always just opinions. Yep, absolutely. Opinions based on nothing. Yeah. And it is a fine balance, and I'm not going to say that everyone does this, but a lot of people that will use their platform to simply gain more traction don't need facts. Like, there's plenty of conservative news personalities that I'll just say out there. I don't need to name them, but you'll know them. Where they'll go out and they'll be so extreme. They'll say Black Lives Matter is a new KKK. And then there'll be so many people out there that will take that as so inflammatory, but they'll think, oh, wow, she's so bold in saying that, because that's some of the comments in the past where she'll be like, she's so bold in saying that I want to follow her. I think that we need more people to speak like that. Whereas I think that is completely the wrong direction. I think you can be bold in your opinions and you can be strong and honest, but you do need to have
facts,
the foundation and the facts to back it up. And that's why it is so important to have a fine balance with that. Like, I will be strong. I will curse out. The Scottish will come right out on my videos because I'll get so passionate about it. And sorry if you need subtitles for some of those videos. But I usually I will more often than not back it up with facts, because I wouldn't feel comfortable going out there and being so passionate in my expressions if the facts didn't back up what my opinions were. I don't think that a lot of people think that way, because more people will see the numbers. They'll see their Twitter followers go up, their Instagram followers, and the dollar signs. And I think that what I try to do more often than not, especially I had a recent video, as I mentioned there, the Blue Lives Matter videos, I tried to just put in a fact right from the get-go that if you're left or you're right, you should be shocked by that fact. And that's the fact that over 660 plus Americans have died at the hands of police already in 2017. Regardless of you are listening, if you are out in Texas and you're as conservative as you may be and you love country music and you love America and you think that you cannot question it, that should shock you to your very core. Just as it should shock a lefty who's out in Los Angeles eating avocado toast. Regardless, you should be so outraged at that number. And that's what I try to do, because again, I know that as the video goes on and my opinions start to come out and my liberal point of view starts to become prominent, that more people will veer to the side of let's have a conversation and let's understand this, or more people will start to just hate on the video because they don't want to understand a liberal point of view. But from the very get-go, I try to get people thinking. Like 660 people already, that's less than like 10% of the rest of the world's developed country. Oh, sorry, all of the rest of the world's developed country doesn't even have 10% of that number.
Damn it.
Like, just think about that. That's a shoot first, think later policy that has become so prominent in this country. Not just the bad apple theory that people try to spread.
It's always that, there's more good than bad. It's like, really?
It's a systemic issue that goes back to police reform, further training.
Yes.
And I don't believe that all police officers are bad. I think there is millions of fantastic, brave officers that put themselves in harm's way every single day to protect people. But we also need those good officers to be able to stand up against those bad officers. That's why I think it's
what will make you good, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just think that there's so many things that needs to be done in this country to really tackle the injustice towards, more often than not, of course, against Black Americans in this country, from police reform, from further training, from finding new ways to really not punish all officers for the problems of bad police officers, but you know that the country pays out billions in police brutality cases every year. Taxpayer dollars go towards it.
Our dollars.
Yeah, taxpayer dollars. And that's what's funny, because conservatives are so up in arms about taxpayer money being wasted, but yet they don't say anything on that.
Yeah.
Because they back the blue regardless. So find new ways to really, because again, being outraged about it doesn't have as much of an impact, unfortunately, on politics as money does. So if you find ways to really prove that the cost is not just, it's so sad saying this, that the cost isn't just lives, but that's the way it is in this country, unfortunately. They really will start to pay more attention when the money starts to come out of their pocket.
Gosh, this is another reason, many, many reasons why you should follow Francis and everything that he's doing, the Young Turks Network. I absolutely appreciate you coming in. And
thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you.
Really appreciate
it.